it was let's see that there was room for improvement. So therefore, when the modern client came with Business Central, I had a long chat with Horina and Badur at Microsoft during the previous one, and a lot of the issues that we found at that time had been cleared in the modern client, but the problem was consultants were still really reluctant to use the modern client, and we still see partners that end up in BC14 because they want to continue with the Windows client. So therefore, I decided to make that an issue and go further with that. So, as you said, my name is Pike, and there is a reason why I have submitted so many different subjects. I started working with Business Central, or actually NAV, or actually Business Solution, or actually PC Plus in 1984. I was a part of the beta test of the first version of the first version of the first version of NAV. So that makes me pretty old. Besides that, I've written a couple of books. I'm also working actually on a book on warehouse management, so maybe Nirav could be interested in following along with that. We'll have to see about that. Other than that, I'd spent half my time traveling around teaching in Business Central, and I spend the other half at customers where I try to get some experience about all the different areas of Business Central that I can find. So, what do we talk about the Business Central and the role centers? And actually, the role centers came in the previous version in the Windows client. And also there, it was really underestimated. Why? Because in the classic client, consultants had access to every all functions or functionality in the whole system, whereas in the role centers, they all of a sudden started out to have only a part of the. Excuse me, there is somebody who's not muted. I'll just mute. So, and all of a sudden, the consultant only had limited access to the functionality, and so they thought it was really crap. So the only problem was that a lot of consultants, they didn't realize that they were not supposed to use the system on a daily basis at the customer side. The customer user was. So therefore, already at that time, I wrote a book and started doing this presentation just with the Windows client. So let's see what we can do here. I have kind of limited myself to only a few subjects, and let's see if I can keep within the 45 minutes that I have set. So hopefully I can. So let's start out by the how did we actually get here? We started with a client that was connected directly to the SQL server, and that was the big client that had access to everything, and you could just you could access the service module if you wanted, even though you didn't have actually permissions to the service module, you could still see it. Now, the only problem was that it was really difficult to find anything. So when Microsoft in 2008 launched the 2009 role tailor client with Windows client, then the consultant said, oh, can we keep the classic client but get the search function? Because the search function as well was actually really useful. Now, most of them used the departments menu directly and just kind of skipped the whole idea of the role tailor client. But in 2013, there was no way back. They had to use the role tailor client. We also got the web client, and we got a SharePoint client, and we got also some other stuff. And in 2015, we got two more clients, which was the tablet client. Microsoft started saying some strange words like Google and iPad and Samsung and all sorts of strange words that had been absolute no-no in Microsoft earlier on. But other than that, we still had the architecture, we still had the service tier, we still have the Windows client. So in 2018 or 17, Microsoft launched the 2018 NAV with the Visual Studio Code, and nothing changed in the clients. But this was a way to prepare for going to the cloud by making all customizations into extensions. Great. So therefore, in the Business Central BC 15, we only have the Visual Studio Code, and forward, we only have the on-premise version of Business Central, and we don't have the Windows client, and we only have the modern client that came with BC. I think it was called BC. I don't think it had a number after that. So, so all good. But now we can actually connect to the cloud. Now we can have a web client with an endpoint directly to our service tier in the cloud. But we also get other functionality from that because we are utilizing the Azure Active Directory authentication. Then we also get plugins with Outlook, plugins with Excel. We get connectors directly to Power BI. We actually had that in previous versions as well. But now we also have Power Apps and Power Automate, where we can play, and that makes it really, really cool. Now we still have the modern client, but we also have the tablet client, and we also have the phone client, and we actually have the almost unknown Windows app client. So if you go to Windows Store, you can actually download an app that is called Business Central, and there is actually also one for NAV, and then you can run Business Central or NAV directly on your Windows through an app and not through the modern client. So there are advantages and disadvantages on both. So but let's take a look at what we can actually do in the system. One thing that we can just emphasize here is the app source, where we can download all sorts of things, and that is really, really cool. So if you just need a Swedish language layer, I don't know why you want that, then you could just go in and download that, and then you will have a Swedish language layer on the fly. Great. So now the role centers, do we actually need them? And the question has been for a long time, why don't we just make one big role center with all the functionality for the whole system? And that's because the system has become too large in order to do that. Also because when we actually go to the end user, I mean, a lot of the CFOs and finance controllers and stuff like that, they can handle having thousands of functions available. But when you go down to the warehouse or go to any place where you only need a limited amount of functionality, then people get confused. So what is it that they want? Well, they want simplicity. They want to see something that they can understand, and they can very quickly overview what is actually going on. Whereas in the classic client and in many other, what they felt was like this. And I could probably within a year or two figure out how to fly that plane. But why should I do that when I only have a limited functionality that I need? So therefore, instead of thinking client, then we should also think portal. We should think this user, what is it that he actually or she actually needs in order to do that job? And we talk about key performance indicators. It can be just a simple information like what is the total amount of sales orders it could be where are all my daily tasks, all my periodic tasks. That's even worse. I mean, how often do you make a year-end closing? Well, you make that every year. So how can you remember that? That is really complicated. So therefore, make sure that we have the things that are necessary for us to work with. Also, functionality that we rarely use, reports that we rarely use, and make sure that we put that out to the users so that next time they need it, they don't have to search for it and remember what name it is. So if we look at the role center, well, whenever we log on to the role center, there's one thing that's very often done really wrong when we start working with a new customer. So a new customer calls us and they say, we have decided to go with Business Central, and we say, that's good. Therefore, can you please make us a demo installation? So we make a demo installation, and what happens in a demo installation? Well, exactly this. Now, this is the sales order processor. I think maybe it's the business manager in the SaaS solution, but it depends. There is one profile that has been set as the default one, and every user will be given this. So think of yourself as a finance person sitting there looking at this and thinking, where the hell is all my finance stuff? And already at that, when they see that the first time, you just created a demo, you haven't making anything else, you haven't done any introduction, nothing. And therefore they just sit there and they get really annoyed and think, this is actually a shit system. Why did we buy that? So therefore you can never let anybody into the system without making sure that all the different groups they have of your users, at least on a user group level, that they get access to a profile which is as close to the one they're going to use in the future. So if you put the accountant in for the CFO, then he'll be happy. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know why that. So then he'll be happy. So therefore, make sure that the users that you have, that they are given the correct version, or as close as possible. You can always change it later on. So if we look at the role centers, well, we have some role centers that are out of the box in the system that can either be from the base application or can be from extensions. And then we have these profiles that link to the role center. And you can have multiple profiles that link to the same role center, but are configured differently. So usually what the developer does, he creates a role center and puts in an extension, and then he creates a profile also in the extension. And then the super users or the consultants, they can start working with that and changing that directly. And we'll get back to how that is. You can also copy one profile to another, and it will copy the whole configuration of the profile, but not the personalization. I'll get back to what the difference is. So therefore, you can also export that. You can take the profile, export it, take it out to a customer, import it at the customer directly. Now, there might be some situations where you have a profile where you say nobody is allowed to change that. And that could be, for example, if this is placed in a warehouse or something like that, where you have people coming in and out, truck drivers, delivery people, everybody comes in there, and the machine is open all the time. And in that case, you want to make sure that all you have, like cost prices and all that crap, has been moved, all sensitive information, and that nobody can change it. So very important. If we look at how we actually can change it, then we have a number of changes that can be done either by developers or by consultants or super users, or made by the users themselves. So therefore, if we look at the developers, well, we have some in base application. Then we can then do some ourselves. That base application is the number one. Number two is whatever we make in extensions, and install that. And then we have another design which can be made by any consultant or user in the system. That sounds scary, and it is, but you can use that with limitations. Then you can set that onto the consultant, can then customize some stuff. The super users can then continue customizing that. I distinguish between consultants and super users is that between 4 and 5, it has been delivered to the customer, and the customer takes over responsibility for the profile. And then there you'll find a super user that has a little more knowledge about IT and say, all right, you are the one who is responsible for adding new fields or whatever we're going to do on this, and then teach them how to customize. And lastly, you have the users that can actually personalize everything that has been set up here. So how do we then find which which users should be using which profile? Well, we have 4 different levels. So we can set up that we have a default profile, and if nothing else has been set, then that is the one being used. Now we can also set up on the user group. There is a profile that you can set up. And then lastly, you have user personalization, or you can change it yourself in My Settings. Both of those are the same thing, because if you, the first time you go and change it in My Settings, then it will actually go in. And I can just take a quick look at that if my Business Central hasn't fallen asleep. Let me just 2 seconds. It has fallen asleep. That's very, very naughty. So let me just take this. Now, I need to demonstrate this in the sandbox because there are differences in what you can do in the sandbox and what you can do in the production. Now, I'm in the SaaS solution right now in Business Central, and I'm in the sandbox. And here I can do almost anything I want. Now, can I transfer that directly from Business Central sandbox to the live environment? No, not all of it. Maybe some of it. So in here, in my settings, as soon as I go in here and change my settings up here, then it will update my let me just take the service manager like that. And then it will update my user personalization and tell me which profile should be used next time I go in. So that means whenever I change that, I need to manually go back to the other one. However, so that'll take a while, I can see that. So now we are in the, and of course it switched to Danish, so thank you. So sorry about that. Let me just switch language to a different language. Let's take that. So great. So now it has updated my user personalization. And so I have sometimes users that says, could I please have 2 different? And I say, nope. And yes, maybe, because you can actually, in your URL, you can set up different parameters. You can just divide them with the ampersand, and then you say first you have a question mark, and then you have all the parameters divided by ampersand. And in here you also have the profile equals blah blah blah, and you can even have something called configuration, but we'll get back to that in a few minutes. So there's a lot of things that you can set up here. If we just go very quickly through this one, because we don't have a bunch of time. So up here is all our standard, all our application. We have the search function, Alt Q, that's your new best friend. You have the number 2, which is where you return to your role center every time. In the Windows client, we have Shift F12. That doesn't work here. The Shift F12 will open the Role Explorer, which is over here. And the Role Explorer is really good, except I would just have liked it to be the kind of the departments menu, because I never use the Role Explorer. I always go down to the departments menu, which is called something else now. But Shift F12 will get you in there. Also, I have these menus up here, and it's a little bit special because these menus will remain as long as you work in the client if you do it on the real way, the right way. So let me just go back to my sales order processor. I have him here. Okie dokie, and then I get the menu items up here, and these are the ones. You can see down here, these are the ones that we had, the activity buttons we had down here on the Windows client, and they kept all the time, or most of the time. And whenever I select something in here, customers like that, then it will actually go in and open, but keep the menu up here. So now I can select something else by using this. So whatever you want to switch between quickly is put it up here, so that you can just do like that. As soon as I search for something, customer, so customers here. So right now I have customers here, but actually this is a separate window and I lost my menu up here. Now I can press escape here. Now I get back to my vendors. Then I can press escape. Now I'm back to my customers. Then I press escape and I'm back again. So that means using the Alt Q or selecting some stuff in here will create new windows and on top of each other. We actually had that in the classic client, and sometimes it took you half an hour to go home because you had to close all the windows first. But that's how it is. So this menu is one thing. The other thing is we have this, and this is our home items, and we have this bookmark, and we take it away by clicking here. We could also add some other stuff in here. So I took that away. I'll just go back to my role center. Now I'll go into Alt Q, and then I'll search for, if I can find Alt Q there, and then I'll find customer top 10, and then I have my customer top 10. Oh, that can also be glued to my role center. I could also say, all right, what about my release production order? Okay, release production order, there's none, so this is probably a essential. Let me just see service.
Hi there, Pike.
Yeah.
Pike, sorry, one feedback is that your sound is being disrupted. We think it's your microphone.
Okay, I can try to switch microphones. 2 seconds. That's a good thing that you said it. So let me just switch that over here. Let me see, it's microphone. Let me see, I have a bigger one. I just need to assemble it. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. And let's see how that actually works. So 2 seconds. All right, now I switched the microphone. Is that better?
My word, Pike. You know,
okay.
You sound like a completely different person.
Oh,
but that's great. That's
worry.
a lot better. Wow.
I am the same, yeah. But this is a monster mic I have above my desktop here, so I'll use that instead. Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So here I can actually put some other stuff in here. I could put my list. This is my web services. I just put it on and take it off again like that. And then I can go to search for example, let me just say general ledger setup. Notice how little I actually write. No need to write everything all the way out. The search functionality is actually quite cool. It will actually try to use Cortana as well. So one of the funny demonstrations that Microsoft usually did was they said, what will happen if you say item charge to Siri? It will tell something like, I tell Charles. So let's see what happens if we press OK. That was not what I wanted. Let me just go here. I tell Charles, like that. And now you can see it actually finds the item charges in here. So they have reverse engineered that. So great. So this is just to show you that you can go in here and you can make some changes to your own home items like that. So what else do we have? Well, we have this headline. I haven't found the fantastic use for the headline. I mean, if a customer is standing behind me and telling me that the largest sale I've had this month is 10,000 for 20,000, then that is not a good information for him to have. So therefore, yeah, it might be useful in some situations. I just haven't found it yet. So, but all the new documents we can create from here, we can also have the activities, and this is where we can add the functionality, and it's a very small change if you want another of these green squares, these cues.
telling you something, and as I used the example before, a total of all my sales orders, which is something some of the CEOs would like, then it's a very small change. Also, we have these, my customers. We have a self-service. We have a training sales order and all that. So let me just go on. We can just see down here number 17. That is our getting started with Power BI. So also, I found out that the shortcuts in Business Central, well, it's not complete. For some reason, they have omitted some of the shortcuts. So if you go to the keyboard shortcut, and then I click this, and then I open this, then they are missing all the application shortcuts. I don't know why. I mean, that is crazy. So you can see should be one F9, that's post, Control F7, that's ledger entries. They're not here. So I decided to make my own. And of course, I made it available to you, so you can just download it from here. And let me just see if I can actually put it in the chat so that you can just download it. So, okay, I had it before. Now I don't have it anymore. Great. So let me just see if I can find it and put it in the chat for you. I'll do like that, and so now I'll put it in the chat. And this will include a demo example of my book. It will also include this shortcut, not this one. So let me just put it in there like that. Okay, always does that. So here it is. So let me see here if you have problems downloading it. So I also put the slide in there, so you have the slide and everything. You can just download it straight from there. All right. So now the second thing is that we have this, but I also have included these two, and this is something I provide for all my customers, because the first question is they look at the customer list and then they go like, oh, how do we make a filter in here? So I made this, and if you feel free to steal it if you want it in a Word format, then that could be provided as well. I also have all the date filters, so and the dynamic date filters as well. So in that way, you can just give it, and you can see even the my customers, my items, and my vendors. I know this one is previously for the Windows client, but I left it there. And then I also have some selected ones. So I actually made it, and I made it coffee proof, because you never know what happens when it's a user, right? So let's just take a look, because we can actually get very far when we are just using this the keyboard. So first of all, one of the things that you can do is press F11. That will open up so that you have a lot more space. And then I can go to my customers, and then I can say, all right, I would like to make filtered views, and all my customers use these filtered views. And you can access the filtered views in 4 different ways, I think. You can open it filter pane here. You can open filter pane here. You can open filter pane here. And you can press Alt F3. So, or is it Shift F3? I don't remember. Oh, that was Shift F3. So I can just open this. And then I can go in here and say, all right, I would like to see one customer, all my customers that has a balanced view, like that. All right, I've done that. Then I'd say, all right, this might be a little harsh, because if I call all these customers, they might say, yeah, but we actually sent them a payment today, so you'll have it tomorrow. All right, then we'll go down here and we'll change this and say, all right, then I'll use the work date. So I'll say ... and then I say work date minus 1 week. So that means it will only be calculated if the balance is due before last week. So great, I'll just enter that. And if I go out, then it will populate the date. But if I go back again, then it's actually the codes that it saves. So I'll save that. I'll call it balance due, like that. and like that. And then we might have another one where we say, all right, yeah, but I would probably also like to see the ones that are due more than a month. Okay, I'll take 1 month, and then I'll go up here and save as, and I can go like this, and then 1 month. So, enter. So that means from now on, I will have all of these filtered views ready for me, and I have it already up here. So my balance due, and you can see there are some stuff in here that are preset from Microsoft in here. So another demonstration I very often do is, for example, I had a customer. He called me and he said, could you please make me a report so I can print out all my items that are slow moving? And I'll go like, why? Because if I go back here and I take the list, and it'll show up in a second, go in here to the list, and then I say, all right, what is a slow moving item? Okay, a slow moving item is an item where, and now I know I don't have a lot of data in here, but never mind, I'll say an item is an item that has an inventory. Well, larger than 0. It also has no sale, so I'll just say type sale, sales quantity, like that. That's equals 0, right? So it might also be that I exclude components and all that stuff. And then at the last I do is I go down here and filter totals by, and do the same thing where I say the date filter in here should be work date minus 1 year, dot work date. Now, there's not a lot of information in here, so but basically, and then I might want to set one more thing up here, and that could be last date modified. So because I don't want any that has been created within the last year, so it has to be dot work date minus 1 year here, like that. So that means this way I get all items that has an inventory. It doesn't have a sale in this period down here, and it hasn't been created in this year either. So go up here, slow moving. Now, anybody that works with reports in Business Central, they know that you won't get away with less than 4 hours work with a report. That's almost impossible. So therefore, in this way, teaching the users to do this to yourself, then they can save a lot of money, and there's no reason for making a report. I mean, what is a report? Basically, that's a static piece of paper, and in 5 minutes, that's actually gone. So therefore, make sure use the filters, use the dynamic filters for that as well. Then we also have another way, a little way of setting filters, and some of you might have puzzled about it, thinking, what the hell is that? Because if you go, for example, to, let me just take the example of the planning worksheet. So I'll go to planning worksheet, like that. And in the planning worksheet, I have this prepare thing. So usually when you have manufacturing, this is one of my specialties, and here you might have 3 different people working the planning worksheet. It might be the production planners. It might be the purchasers. So you might want to make different setups in here. So I'll do like this and say, all right, I'll take this. This is for the master production schedule. And then I'll go down here and I'll have my replenishment system, which is called production. So basically now it has created this. That's fine, except that this is something that they do 85 times a day. So why don't we just go up here and say, all right, I want to create a new one. So I'll go in here, new, and I'll call it MPS. I can say OK, and then I can apply exactly the same as I just did, production order. It remembers, thank you very much. And then I can just press OK here. I could have locations. I can actually make another one and say, all right, I also want the MRP for the produced items, like that. And then I can do the same thing and just do like this, and still production. And that way I can have all the predefined filters, And now we saw before in the warehouse that you can have these predefined filters, and this is exactly what they have included in here as well. That's pretty cool. From now on, they also all they have to do is go to the planning worksheet. They just need to go to the prepare and then select the filter that they want. Right. What else can we do? Well, we can go in and we can change a lot of stuff just by clicking around. And we saw some of them in some of the previous. And let me just show some of them here. So you see this button here, that means expand that. I could also go to customers, that might be a little more, and you can see then I have the opposite, take that away. Well, like that, I have these different, how does it show? I don't know why I should have pictures of my customers, but never mind. The items is probably better. I also have my fact boxes that I can include and exclude. And then they have added a really, really cool function in here. So many of my customers, they say, oh, we have this sales order and we can only see 3 lines. Why can we only do that? Well, that's because you are not using it correctly. So in here, I can set up, excuse me, like that, customer name, I'll use my friend, number 10,000. And then we need to add in 50 lines or something like that. First of all, I removed this up here so I have more space. Now I use the focus mode. Focus mode will make everything about lines. And then if I have more than 3 lines, it will automatically expand down here. And then you can see that. I could also do even more. I could just click this in if I also want my fact boxes in here. And I can take it out of focus mode in here. So to give even more space, I can take it out and put it as a separate window in here, like that. I have 11 like that. And then I can just log in. I don't know why it just did that. So where are we? Where are we? Where are we? So here we are. And now we don't even have the bar up here. And now we'll put the focus mode. And now we have absolutely most space whatsoever. So this is something that you just should show the customers, that we have focus mode. We can take it out in a separate window. Now, when it's in a separate window, I have to close the whole window. It's actually right here. So I just have to close this, and I don't have the window anymore here, but I do have the order, of course. So another thing that I spend a lot of time using is let's just say I'm working in both the production and in the sandbox, and maybe even in different companies. So now I have here, and this is my production, and this is my sandbox. So the only difference between those two is the sandbox over here, and that's not here. So now I'm in production. If I have F11, I can still use control page up and page down. You can see sandbox, no sandbox, sandbox, no sandbox. That's like an indicator, isn't it? So that's also a cool little function to do. Then a lot of my customers, they say, oh, why is it so annoying to enter data into the system? Okay, let me just take this away. So, because we would like to just kind of change a lot of things about our customers at the time. So, all right, this was printing a report. I'll just skip that because we have this open and edit in Excel. Now, how does that work? Well, that's so easy because we just go to the line, and now it's switched to Danish again. Thank you very much. Let me just take here. So this is my list of, and I'm not going to do that. No, I'm going to go back to my items, and then I can go over here, click the page, and then open an Excel. We'll just create an Excel sheet, comes down here, and if I use the edit in Excel, it will create a special Excel sheet where it actually downloads a component so that I can upload the information back in. All right. So I'm running so much out of time here. So, but never mind. We'll continue until. So you can see here's the component. Now it will log on to my Business Central. That's me. It comes here in 2 seconds. and then all of a sudden, maybe it is not just doing like that. So, okay, reading, getting data. It's all in Danish, so I'm sorry about that, but that's how it is. So it'll show up in a few seconds. Here it comes, and now I can make changes, and then I can just publish it back to Business Central. Great. So that's one thing. The other thing is, let me just go over here, because I have actually also prepared some other to demonstrate the Outlook integration, but you've probably seen that 85 times, so I'm not going to do that. So other than that, how do we actually change the UI without development? We have 3 different ways of doing it. We can either design it, we can customize it, or we can personalize it. Now, this triangle is mandatory to think about, because down here we have the base application. We cannot do anything in here. Yeah, maybe we could do something, but no, not a lot. Then we have the role centers and profiles in extensions. Also, they might not be extensible, but nevertheless, we can extend the page, but we need to do that in extension. Then we have these 3. These are available to users. So design changes is something that is available in on-premise solutions and in sandbox solutions. Customizations and personalizations are available everywhere. So therefore, you have design changes is something that will affect all users in the system. So if you design something on a role center page, if you have, for example, the sales order processor, and you have 2 different profiles that are utilizing the same one, and you make a design change, then all the different users that are utilizing that role center, they will be hit by that. Any other page designing, all users in the whole system, regardless. So, but when you're customizing, it will only be the users that are have been selected for this profile. And then lastly, the personalization, that's me. If it's been allowed, then that's fine. So how do we actually do that, and what can we do in here? So I'll go in here. In the development, in the customization, and in the personalization, I can do this. And now I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Let me just see, because I need to have one more thing in here. 2 seconds. Let me just add this. It won't take many seconds. And that demands that you actually know how to write. So you can add fields, list pages, set up pages, and reports. Now that's all through bookmarks, the last 3. Then the fields are specific. If you are designing, then you can add any field. If you are customizing or personalizing, you can only add the fields that have been designed in there. So that means that if you go to design, if you need a field on a page, I'm going to show you in a couple of seconds, then you need to go to design first to do it. Now, the problem is, let me go back to this. If somebody has done something up here or here, it will lock for this. It's not a big thing, because what we do, it will just remove all this, and then you can do your changes, and then it will apply this afterwards. Let's try that. So we can also hide and move all these things up here. It's fine. We can try that. Now, the lock looks like this. So when you go to design on a page, and I can easily show that, because here I have, let me just get back to the question, your question in a few seconds, if that was a question. And let me just go in here and then say, all right, we have here, I'd like to go to design. So, and I'm in my sandbox, I can do it. So therefore I have the design in here, and I can click that. First of all, if I want to work with tablets or with phone apps, then I can click here and actually get an overview of how does my role center look in a tablet view, and how does it look in a phone view. and I can put it down. There is actually a secret way of doing that. I don't know if you know it, but there is here, if you copy that and then paste this in here, and then you type phone dot, oh, you don't even have to have an ASPX after that. Then it'll actually show you how a phone looks. Okay, that doesn't look very nice, but there is the F12 function in here, and that can set you up here. That's a Galaxy S5, that's a iPhone X, iPad, blah, 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 and you can also turn around. So this is standard functionality. You just have to set this up here. But you can also use this to very quickly see how it looks. So in here now I can do some changes, but you can see it's locked already. So I'll click here. It says here, I'll unlock. Now remember what I did over here. Now this has already been removed. So when I go to design, I'm back to square one. So now I say I want to remove this. I want to remove this. And I want to remove this. This is on design base. So nobody that works with the sales order processor will have these in the future unless they put it back again. So, and I can go to customers and say, all right, I want to do some stuff in here. So go to customers, and I would like to have first of all, I'll take the responsibility center away because we don't need that. And obviously the location code is not being used either. So I'll take that away. Now I want to add a field, so I'll click field here. You have to guess what it says, add field. So I can go here and I can take the city and put it up here. So I got the city. Come back. Here is the city. That's fine. I can then stop designing. Now, and a little trick. If I don't give it a name, click that, and then go to extension management. Then it actually created a secret extension. And it's called designer. And everything I do in design mode and not naming it will be added to this designer. So that means you can go around, do all sorts of things, come back, get out all the time, and it will just keep adding to this one. As soon as you give it a name, you cannot change anything anymore. That's it. So therefore, you will have to export it. You can do that by going up here, manage, download extension somewhere. No, you need to go in, and you can download it, and then you can make it into a project, and then you can put it up again. So that's good. Now the second thing I can do is I can actually go into customization. Let me just see if I can remember what I'm talking about. So second thing, now I was in design mode. Everything I do in customization will be based on design changes, but everything that was done on personalization will be removed. So that means the city will still be there. The two fields I removed will still be gone, and that's my starting point for this. But whatever I did up here with the general ledger setup is not there anymore, but it will be reapplied afterwards. So let me just go back again and see how that looks. So go back here, and then I will open profiles. So profiles in here. Then I will go down to my sales order processor. It's only called order processor, and I can go in here, and this is the customize. Customize pages means I only customize for this. If any other profile is utilizing the sales order processor, they will not be touched by this. Notice that the frames are now red. Big difference. And I'm locked because somebody has personalized this. I know who, that was me. So I personalized, unlocked the page. Notice what happens over here. Now this disappeared, but this remains. Okay, so now we know that. I'll go into the customers, open that. Then I will go in here and say, all right, I would like to have another field in here. So I'll just add a field, and that field should be the postcode. And the postcode is here. But it's only the fields that are available from design time that are here. I cannot see anything else. So if I wanted to see last modified date, I cannot. Oh, it's always actually here. But some of the fields that are not from design time, they will not be available here. So now I added this. I might want to say, all right, I'll take this away. So that's good. And then I can just close this again. Now notice that it opened a new page for me, and notice that up here it has the profile, and then it ended by saying configure somewhere in here. I don't know where it is. It says configure somewhere, but never mind. So I'll just close this, done. And it says here you cannot do anything else. I'll go out. And then now when I go in here, I probably need to press Ctrl-Alt-F1 in order to reapply everything. And now all my personalizations, all my configurations, and all my and let me just see where in the hell I am here. The web services general, they just set up, and this was what I personalized. If I go to my customers in here, then I can see I have made some changes. I know I did it, so do it. So that's just about it. Now, there's a lot of things that you can do here and that you should do here, and you can easily go in and create. Let me just see if it came now. Now you can see that name, contact, postcode, city, and this is a big mix of personalization, customization, and design changes. Right. What can I do in here? I can do lots of things. I can set the freeze pane. I can go in and remove fields, add fields. I can go in and change the importance so that I can create a sales order with lines in 3 strokes, and then it will jump to the next line. If I say remove all these quick entry from all the others, then they will be really, really fast to work with. So great. Let me just continue here because now I'm running out of time. So where can we find help about this? So first of all, you have a number of learning, Microsoft Learning, and they are here. And I put the link in here so you can just click on them when you download the slide. There's also a book there, both in ebook and in paperback. So that's about it. I think I'm running out of time, so I'll just switch to questions, and hopefully not too many.
Awesome, Peak. Super awesome. Topic. It's really like I'm watching a UI and UX 101, specifically for Business Central, right?
Yes.
All right. So there are some hand raised here. Of course, it's from Sairam. Sairam, do you have any question for Peak?
It's an awesome session, and I hope everything has been clearly explained in this session. How to personalize and how to customize role center, how to utilize the role center, and how we can make a changes on the role center, how user can utilize different type of role centers has been covered over this session.
Yes, I hope that's shed some light on it, because it's something that a lot of consultants, every consultant should know this. And this is mandatory knowledge when you get out to the customer and need to advise them what they can do.
And one more thing I liked in this session is most of the consultants has not aware of the locking the role center, how to lock the role center, and how to lock the personalization, which has been explained clearly in this particular session.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, it's a very
Cool.
great session and a very useful session.
Yes, good.
Yeah, there's like a comment here, Peak, from David. There have been some great session in the bootcamp, but your session stands out. Thank you. This was amazingly helpful.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, I think all of the sessions are very great. But in terms of users' perspective, I think it's very like different that sharing this kind of session, because the 3 last session is very great in terms of the configuration, functional setup. But this session is a little different because it's more of tackling the UI or user interface of Business Central and also the user experience. So it's a very great session. Peak.
Yes.
I think there's no more
you can
question in
you
the.
can download the. I just put the link in the chat, so you can download the actual shortcuts and filters and all that in here, and also the slide is also in here.
All right. Peak. I think there's no more question in the chat box. But if you have, can you invite our viewers or audience to follow you in your social media, etc.? So
Yes.
just do copy paste in the box. Yeah.
There are not a lot of pikes in LinkedIn. Let me just say that.
Yeah, you can add your LinkedIn profile or a link to chat box, so
I can do
everyone
that.
can follow you, and I can everyone can follow you, and everyone can ping you whatever the doubts are available. And I really thanks for this wonderful session regarding this.
Good. This was my my blog, and this is my LinkedIn profile. I think. There we are. This is my LinkedIn.
Thanks you once again, Pike, for a great session. I was highly anticipating your session, and it did turn out to be true. Really, really well experienced. Thank you for sharing your wealth of experience with the community, helping the community grow, Pike. Thanks for sharing your link to your book, dynamicsbookstore.com. So please check that out as well. And I just want to thank you, Pike, because I think this session was definitely highly, highly valuable. So thank you once again.
You're welcome, and thank you for inviting me.
Or